Hi Sylvain, how are you doing?
Oh, hi Hans. I'm fine, thanks. And yourself?
Fine too. A lot of work for peace, you know.
Before we begin, I want to thank you, Hans, for this opportunity to talk about peace. Very important, especially in our time.
Exactly.
And I would like to thank all those who work for peace with us, as well as those who work for peace on their own. And so, thank you.
Okay. So we are working on a common project, and I hope all the people will join us. The name is the Green Light Project, right? You started this.
That's right.
Okay. For the people who don't know about what is this, could you explain something about it, that they understand it better?
Okay. When we say a Green Light Project, we're referring to light bulbs that people turn on in front of their homes, in front of their apartments, in front of their or just in their window of their rooms that are facing the front streets of the street front. And so to turn them on at nighttime and to leave them on much of the night until as long as possible. So that people passing by in their cars, people passing by walking along with their dogs and so on, will take notice and maybe ask the question, why is there a green light? And if they do ask the question, and maybe some of them will go and ask the people who live there, why do you have a green light on? And the answer is the people will say is we have a green light on for peace. And hopefully this will carry on. Now, this project already has almost, over 300 people participating in it, but scattered all over the world, in Mexico, in Western Canada, in Eastern Canada, in Belgium, in Germany. And so we're making slow progress, but steady progress on having a visible sign that some of us citizens want to have peace. Peace meaning no wars, especially the one that is being prepared for in the Middle East right now. If anybody on this world knows that there's going to be a war, it's the mainstream media. They know. That's their business to know.
Yeah.
Okay, they know the truth, but their business is not in expressing the truth. Their business is in doing whatever sells their media, whatever promotes their media. They have sponsors, and these sponsors pay for certain coverage.
Yeah.
So now, no, it is not a wonder that common people, citizens, do not know what is going on because the mainstream media does not cover it.
Yeah.
I had organized with my son a conference on peace and prosperity, where we had invited ambassadors. 5 of them came on the stage with myself, and our main speaker was no one else but Gandhi himself, the 4th grandson of Mahatma Gandhi, who lives down in the state of New York. I had brought him down for this event. Just a minute, please. And I had contacted all the mainstream media to inform them of this event. And all the reporters, the journalists, the investigative journalists, they were all excited about this, and they had planned to come. But after that, I had a phone call from the editor-in-chief of the media corporation they worked for, and I was warned. I was put on a blacklist. I was warned not to contact any reporters or journalists about this matter. And I thought, Mahatma Gandhi was the greatest man of peace in the history of humanity. His grandson coming to Ottawa would be a major event, especially for the promotion of peace. And I was blacklisted because of that. So there is an active effort to prevent peacemakers from being heard in the world by the mainstream media, period. And there is no evidence to the contrary that any mainstream media is promoting any peace talks, negotiations, and so on, anywhere in the world, not only here in Canada and United States. So there is an active effort to block peacemakers. That, to me, is clear.
Yeah.
Well, the situation in the Middle East is such that battleships, warships, are now in position, and countries are allying with each other. Some with Iran, some against Iran, to make sure that they have maximum force either for or against. Nuclear. I heard a nuclear submarine was sent to the Strait of Hormuz from the American side. So all the equipment and all the soldiers, the Marines and Navy personnel are in place. They're waiting for a spark. Now the spark may have happened already. There have been several assassinations of Iranian nuclear scientists, and now I doubt that the Iranians would assassinate their own nuclear scientists. So this is a definite and clear provocation from the Western world. I don't know exactly which country, but we can all guess which. So the spark may have happened already, and so maybe war plans are being prepared. I have no doubt if anybody listening to this have a friend or a parent or a relative who is part of the military of your country, I have no doubt that they will say that a war, preparations for a war against Iran have started at least 8 years ago. Because in politics there are no coincidences, everything is planned.
Yes.
Furthermore, many of us have heard that our nation's leaders are now investing money on placing budgets on military purchases. For instance, here in Canada, our Prime Minister Harper has announced 3 days ago that he is investing upwards of $40 billion on the making of warships and naval shipyards in the eastern coast of Canada. Now, this is not to go fishing. This is to be used for war. Why does Canada have to spend its greatest investment on war equipment ever in Canadian history at this particular time, just before, just at the same time that warships are in position? Also, 2 weeks prior to that announcement, Harper announced that he was sending one of our warships to off the coast in the Mediterranean, off the coast of Syria. Okay, that is definitely to be used. Okay, now Canada has a very, very poor navy, perhaps equivalent to Syria. I don't know, but this is also seen as a provocation, and so something most likely will be happening in Syria. Now, the reasons for this have nothing to do with democracy, have nothing to do with weapons of mass destruction, as we've heard we heard in the case of Iraq, because they were never found. So these excuses are being used to to give us a reason to go in and create war, but they are not reality. However, I asked some very old senior citizens about their experience before World War II, and I asked them, did you know that a depression was about to come in the 30s? And they said, nope, we were not prepared for that. The mainstream media did not cover it. It happened all of a sudden. They called it a crash. And then I asked them, did you know there was going to be a war against Germany where Canada would be involved? And they didn't know that. And conscription happened in Canada. And hundreds of thousands of soldiers left for Normandy and many places. And we did a lot of good things, and maybe that was a necessary war to defend Europe. But however, my main message is that common citizens did not know what was going to hit them, as they will not know now. But we have the advantage of the internet. Right. Most people are now turning off their television sets and turning on their internet view screens, and they're watching videos on the internet, and they are getting the news they want. So mainstream media is losing its influence. That is why so many of us know that there is likely going to be a strike against Iran, something that must be stopped at all costs, because the difference between now and back in the 30s and 40s is that now over 30 nations have nuclear weapons, and many of them have intercontinental ballistic missiles that can travel, that can even reach us in North America. So this is a serious threat, and those who care are doing something about it in their own way. Some they share links on peace. Some share news links on the news about what is happening right now. They show videos about the ships in position exactly, and all things that we don't see on the mainstream news. Some share motivational quotes on peace. A lot of people, even outside of our Green Light Project, are doing so much for peace. But it would be nice if we would be more united. As a matter of fact, it took several years for the United States to get many countries in Europe to buy missiles and to aim them, primarily at Iran. Okay, primarily at Iran. So this has been in preparation for years. Those of us who follow the news on the internet know that this is true. Now, everything is in position. That is why it is so urgent for us to contact our friends to prevent it.
Yes.
And but I want to talk more about soldiers. I was interviewed in a debate with the speechwriter for the Bush family, President Bush family. That was about over a year ago. And he was saying the great progress that we're making in Iraq, which is false, because everybody knows that the United States have left Iraq and they have not won the war. It's still ongoing. But I would like to say about the soldiers themselves. The soldiers, American soldiers, are not evil. Let me say something on their behalf. Half of the casualties, the deaths, in the last few years in the Iraq wars have been suicides. The soldiers, half of the casualties were self-inflicted. The soldiers are killing themselves. Now, this is not an action of a victorious army. This is an action of desperation. Now, why are they desperate? Number one, because they know they cannot win, even with superior technology. But there are many other reasons as well, too. They are disappointed with their own countries. I will give you just one reason of their disappointment. A considerable percentage, perhaps half of the soldiers fighting on the American side against the Iraqi evil forces, whatever they may be, are mercenaries, are contractual soldiers. And this is a fact that is well known by many. Now, these American soldiers are fighting alongside with mercenaries, and in many cases the mercenaries are getting advantages over the American soldiers. An advantage in terms of maybe salary, because they're consultants, they get more money. Maybe in terms of better protective gear, etc., etc. So American soldiers do not like them so much, even though they're fighting on the same side. So there are many other reasons. Now, why is the American government hiring mercenaries? Because it's not able to recruit people fast enough to these new wars in the Middle East. Why? Because Americans are smart. They're not going to enlist in a war to be recruited into a war they don't believe in. So I have this to say about American people. Bravo, you are awake. Now, the forces battling against whatever forces there are in the Middle East are realizing this problem. And there may be a limit to the number of mercenaries they can hire to replace the Americans who are not fighting in the war, who would rather be unemployed and homeless rather than kill people they don't know for reasons they don't know. Is that now the Western nations, primarily America, have an army of drones. It sounds like Clone Wars, like in Star Wars. So essentially, it's very similar. Americans have a fleet of over 9,000 air drones. Essentially, these are robot jets that fly over an area. They have an extremely extended range, and they target a certain place with GPS location and just deliver their explosives at that GPS location, regardless if there are civilians around the target.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter to drones because they're just mindless robots. They do as they're told. Now, there's nothing more cowardly than these drones. But however, it's effective in whatever wars they're trying to win. Mm-hmm. So I would like to say bravo to American citizens who are not being recruited into their own deaths, and bravo to the American soldiers who are resigning and from the wars that make no sense. Some of them might, and we've seen videos recently of some American soldiers disgracing corpses of the enemy. Mm-hmm. And we've heard about cases of torture. So there is a minority of people. These people are criminals, by the way. I don't care what army they're for. But these are just isolated cases. It is not the general population.
Exactly.
I'd like to send a message to the very young and to the very old. Young people have an influence, and they're very familiar with the internet. Young people whose parents are maybe ignoring or refusing to talk about what is happening. Mm-hmm. I highly recommend them and the senior citizens who have time on their hands to research on the internet to go into this site, news.google.com, and to type in the word Iran, and for them to do their own search using the Google News search engine. So they will be in a position to convince themselves that what we are saying is true, mm-hmm. that a war is imminent within weeks or days, mm-hmm. and for them to influence their children, if there are seniors, or for them to influence their parents, if they are young, to tell them, look what is happening, this is not being covered in the mainstream media, mm-hmm. we must take action on this. So that is my message to them. Many people who are listening to this now may fall in categories. Those who care, because I don't think you would be listening to this audio or this video if you didn't care. So I'm assuming that those listening to this, as far as we've discussed so far, are caring about peace. Now, you fall into two categories. You are an individual, or you're a member of a group, or perhaps a leader of a group. Okay? If you are an individual, please note that our group has come up with 1,001 peace actions that we can do to promote peace. And these are all things that are legal, safe, sound, and very simple, require no money to do whatsoever. So that list is available. Now, also, those individuals may be interested in knowing that if any of these items, peace actions, are of interest to them, they can do them with a partner. Because on this list, we ask people to put their initials beside the peace action that they are interested in or involved in doing. And so other people seeing that peace action, if they want to do the same peace action, can work with them. So to increase collaboration, working together, because I believe in synergy. Now, the second is for groups. There are groups, many groups around the world who are doing as we are doing, trying to promote peace, preventing wars, revealing truth, and fighting for the freedom of individuals. Some have few members, like 20, and some have many members, like 20,000. And so I want to tell these group members or group leaders that the Green Light Project is also designed for you, even if you do not link yourself up with a Green Light Project. Here is what we mean. By the way, the Green Light Project is only one peace action on the list of 1,001. So you can imagine that this list, which is available to the public, is quite valuable. Now, if you are a peace group, even if you decide to turn the green light on at night for your own cause of peace, of freedom, of justice, or whatnot, go ahead. The more people, the better. So you don't have to associate yourselves with us as long as you are doing something that is legal, that is safe and simple and costs nothing for people to do. Then please go ahead and turn on a green light and claim it as your own, and attract your own people. Because the ultimate goal of this is to have a whole street that is whose lights turn on green at night, a whole neighborhood, community, an entire village or an entire city that can be actually seen at night from people flying overhead in planes by pilots and passengers and say, wow, what's this? This is a green city. What does this mean? This will get media attention, mainstream media, whether they like it or not. They will have to cover this phenomenon, which is growing. So this is my message for individuals and for groups.
Exactly.
Join us.